Hey everybody, it's that time of month again. We're going to take a look at the lunar cycle. This month we're going to take a look at the Saturn Uranus energies, because that square goes exact. And well, this lunar cycle starts June 10th, 2021. So we'll jump in there. It's going to be a solar eclipse. The new moon is a solar eclipse. It's going to be an annular solar eclipse, which means there'll be a sweet ring of fire around the moon in the sky. And that's only going to be visible from the northern hemispheres. I think people in like Canada and Russia are going to get to see the fullness of the display. Yeah, the new moon solar eclipse is going to be taking place against the backdrop of the stars of constellation Taurus. And the full moon will take place in Sagittarius, reflecting a Gemini sun. So in this video, we're going to look at some charts, the key points of the lunar cycle. We're going to look at the new moon, the waxing moon, the full moon, the waning moon. And by waxing and waning, I mean the quarter moons. So we'll look at the new moon, quarter moons, full moon. We'll look at the next new moon, a little sneak peek. And we'll also take a little time and look at the Saturn Uranus square. It's kind of, I mean, this is a big eclipse. That's kind of a big sideshow, big secondary event going on. So I want to sit down with all that for you. You may have noticed that I said the new moon was in Taurus, and yeah, that's because we're using true sidereal or constellational astrology in our reckoning. So mainstream Western astrology charts this alignment in Gemini. So you might hear some people talking about a Gemini new moon, but we can see that on June 10th, Moon, Sun, and Mercury are going to be with the North Node. When Sun and Moon are with the nodes, that's when we have eclipses. And that this eclipse is going to take place in the stars of Taurus. So if that's new to you, or if you'd like to learn more about constellational or true sidereal astrology, you can check out the old oneskyastrology.com. I have a page about true sidereal, why I use it, sort of the history of astrology, and what my very limited study of it has led me to understand about the interpretation of astrological phenomena relative to the actual stars. For now, we're just going to use the actual stars, the living sky, as it is, without applying any kind of approximate zodiac to it. That's what we do on this channel. So this is the second eclipse. This eclipse cycle, last full moon was an eclipse, and it'll be this will be the solar eclipse. It'll be the first and only solar eclipse of this eclipse cycle. And by eclipse cycle, eclipse season, what I mean is that every 6 months or so we have a solar eclipse. The moon and the sun come together, again with one of the nodes, the north node or south node of the moon. We have a solar eclipse. And then usually that takes place within 2 weeks before or after a lunar eclipse. It's not the only way things break down. It's the way things usually break down, solar lunar or lunar solar. Actually, between between the year 2000 and 2050, there are 14 times where there are 3 eclipses in a row. 6 times there will be 2 solar eclipses and 1 lunar eclipse. And 8 times there will be 2 lunar eclipses kind of sandwiching a solar eclipse. Little interesting fact, it doesn't always break down 2. It doesn't always, even when it breaks down to 3 eclipses in an eclipse season, they're not always lunar, solar, lunar. It can be, can go either way. Solar, lunar, solar, so 2 solar eclipses in a row. This season, we had the full moon last month and the new moon this month. And that'll be eclipse season for 6 months anyway. So this new moon is of the same Saros series as the last month's full moon. So we'll talk about that a little bit. It's concerned with insight, dreams, intuition, guidance, and the ability to act on this confidently. Actually, it's a rather unusual Saros cycle in that way. Access to insight, access to guidance, spiritual guidance, if you will. So, yeah, let's jump back in. Since last month, the planets are pretty well established in their signs. We have Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, and Uranus maintaining their position in sequentially Sag, Cap, Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries. And we have the personal planets, or the inner planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, which have changed position and are inhabiting Taurus, Gemini, and Cancer. So as this cycle begins, the lunar nodes are on the Aldebaran and Antares axis. South node is on Antares. It becomes a little less relevant this lunar cycle because the eclipse is only relative to North node. However, the nodes always function somewhat together, so the axis is relevant. This is a powerful axis. These are royal stars that's a Persian terminology of the Persian astrology. But these are 2 stars that are half of the 4 watchers at the corners. And Aldebaran is the watcher in the east, and it was a very powerful configuration last month, and it's likely to be very charged, very powerful this month. We do have an interesting configuration here with the dispositor of new moon in Taurus, the ruler of Taurus, Venus. So we would say that Sun and Moon have rulership given to Venus, that Venus rules Sun and Moon. And Venus sits on fixed star Elena. And the interesting thing is that last month, when the new moon happened in Aries, ruled by Mars, that Mars sat on Elena. So we have an interesting cycle. It's the second month of a new cycle. It's the second month of a cycle originating in Aries and starting this new solar year. It's the second month of eclipse season. So last month saw an eclipse. This month sees an eclipse. That eclipse on the same Aldebaran and Antares axis, because the nodes move relatively slowly. So we're in sort of the same. We're on the same nodal axis. And it's the second month in a row with the new moon dispositor being on fixed star Elena. So that's nice, a sort of internal logic, a sort of consistency, for better or worse. And right now I'd really like to take a look at the new moon in a two-dimensional view. So just to look here at the star placements, going back to, we have Mercury with the new moon. We have all this happening in Taurus. And Taurus is a set of stars that carries an energy of stability. It grounds, it centers, it stabilizes. The words here are like survival, preservation, sustainability, security, resourcefulness. And we have inner resources, so down to our just core sense of self. We have self-appreciation, the theme of self-relationship, our values, just what has value to us, our valuables. So inner and outer, material security, inner worth, self-appreciation, self-love, self-reliance, our personal worth. So you could sum this all up as like the stability of our personal value in every sense. Taurus tends to look inward and be a little more self-sufficient. It's the stars of Venus, but it's not so oriented to relationship in the sense that Libra is. It's more oriented to our relationship with ourself. It orients us to our value system, aka what we will and won't do to survive. This is one functional definition of a value system. Taurus is patient and stubborn. Taurus is luxurious. Taurus is sensual. Taurus is materialistic and cautious. These are the energies that are going to be expressed as the seed of this cycle. The core signature of the cycle is expressed in terms of Taurus. And to kind of look at the dispositor, all right, the dispositor, Venus, sitting in Gemini on fixed star Elena, what we have is an energy where Venus is in this position. There's a love of fine things, of nice things, of looking nice, not in the sense of like the fixed star Peacock, which is like ostentatious, but like really refined, like very, very stylish and refined. Material concerns, there's definitely a sense of material concerns here, and artistic, musical ability are heightened. So the dispositor, the ruler, is kind of gives us information about the way that the energies will express. And in the case of a new moon, so we have the new moon, and we can say the new moon carries the energy of Taurus, which we just talked about. And how is it likely? How is it likely to express itself? By what means? And like what clarifying information can we get about the nature of the expression? Well, we look to the dispositor for that. So the Venus in Gemini is kind of very social butterfly energy. It's very much with an appreciation for ideas, teaching, learning, communication, very curious. It's a great time so to explore curiosity about ourselves, our core sense of inner values. And this becomes really important relative to Aldebaran's prominence in the cycle, and we will talk about that shortly. It's a good time to explore a curiosity about what are my values? What is my value system? What will and what won't I do in order to survive? What are my core sense of things that hold value to me? So yeah, diving in a little deeper, this eclipse, as mentioned, sees the north node right on Aldebaran and the south node right on fixed star Antares, the eye of the bull and the heart of the scorpion. Now I only mention Antares because the nodes, north node and south node, always function together. They're always a pair. They're always sort of one thing, one axis. But relative to this new moon, we're looking at fixed star Aldebaran, Alpha Taurus. And with the north node on Aldebaran, we're moving forward. The north node is the future. The north node is progress, oriented. It's not really retrospective. We're not dealing with the past here. That's the South Node's territory. And so we're moving forward towards stability, towards security, towards those Taurus themes. Again, these royal stars, these four watchers at the corners, all of them are said to be incredibly powerful. I mean, incredibly. This is very, very, very important star. But I'm gonna lean on Bernadette Brady as I do so often. I have Brady's book, Fixed Stars. Tremendously valuable resource. I recommend if you have an interest in the relevance of fixed stars in astrology, check that out. She says about Aldebaran, the four royal stars of Persia are all very powerful stars, and each one offers the possibility of glory, success, or happiness, but only if a particular nemesis can be overcome. In the case of Aldebaran, this challenge is one of integrity and honor. Greatness can be achieved, but the individual, and in this case, we're dealing with a collective, with the collective. This is happening broadly for everybody. But let's keep reading. Greatness can be achieved, but the individual will be challenged on issues of integrity and purity of their thoughts and dealings. If they fail this test, they lose everything. And that's the energy of Aldebaran when it pops up in a natal chart. People who can adopt a sense of integrity and honor achieve greatness. Some people achieve greatness but then lose it kind of quickly, actually. That's the pattern, because of a lack of integrity or a sense of honor, a sense of dignity, a sense of personal nobility. Relative to the collective, relative to all of us, this is the energy. This is the energy, a sort of trial by fire, if you will, where success is, the achievement of greatness, in Bernadette Brady's words. Not everyone's after greatness, but it's indicative of the power, the tremendous power of Aldebaran. And we have this new moon. This new moon is part of a Saros series, a series of eclipse that has been going on for this one's actually, I believe it's about to wrap up. And by about to, I mean like in 600 or 700 years. I don't have the dates down. I talked about this Saros series last month. I gave a little more information there. I get my Saros series information from Bernadette Brady's other book called The Eagle and the Lark, Predictive Astrology. And in the appendices in the back, Appendix 6 and 7, are eclipse dates and Saros cycle information. The information on this Saros cycle is as follows. Again, same as last month, but I'm going to go over this just so all the information's in one place. It's a very usual Saros series involving sudden flashes of ideas that seem to have a psychic or unconscious flavor to them. Hunches, visions, prophetic dreams are the essence of this family of eclipses. A truly creative series which should leave the individual enriched. The ideas or hunches which come from this eclipse can be acted upon. So again, receiving actionable information. Visionary form, hunches, any kind of insight, intuition. Follow it. Powerful goodness here. The individual will be enriched. Very nice. So looking at aspects to the new moon, we have the moon making aspects to Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's very comfortable in Pisces, and so ruling psychic phenomenon, ruling intuition, ruling hunches, insights, prophetic dreams, we find Neptune. And relative to those things, Pisces is an excellent set of stars. In fact, Neptune and Pisces are resonant. Neptune's given rulership of Pisces, and so Neptune's considered in domicile here and at its best position in the sense of the stars. But relative to the sun and moon, it's making a square. So square can express itself in terms of obstacles, the need to reconcile an obstacle, a call to action, but the call to action is a request to overcome a challenge. And the challenge here with Neptune and Pisces is lethargy. It's lack of enthusiasm, lack of motivation. With Neptune and Pisces, there can be hopelessness, a sort of dissociative escape into fantasy, a sort of sense of weak boundaries. Pisces will serve to disillusion us, so we may have to look at where we're playing the role of the victim, where we're holding on to guilt. These are the themes of Taurus and its need for self-sufficiency relative to a square to Neptune in Pisces, where we're being asked to take a look at anywhere around victim role, and to disillusion ourselves, to disabuse ourselves of the notion that we are a victim if we're able to do that. If we're able to step out of the seat of the victim and claim our power in a situation, this is a great time to do that. Sitting in the seat of the victim, we're always saying, that person victimized me. I've been victimized. And when we point our finger at that person, no matter how valid it is, no matter how deeply we've been hurt, no matter how legitimate our claim to victimhood is, we have no power. We've given our power away. We've said that person is the cause. I am sitting here. I am affected. Well, when we get out of that seat and we look at ourselves and our own role in the experience, what in me necessitated that experience for growth, we can start to reclaim our power. And that is a Taurus new moon on Aldebaran, or relative to North Node on Aldebaran, square Neptune Pisces. That's what's being asked of us here. And I think we can all sort of relate to that, whether we've been overly victimized or traumatized, or no matter what we're holding. We can always look at ourselves and see, how can I disillusion myself, even though this might be a somewhat painful process of disillusionment, how can I take my power back? Again, not just in the sense of victimhood, where we're holding on to guilt, to where we might have wronged others. How can we forgive? Neptune in Pisces. How can we forgive and accept? That's the medicine. Neptune can be a pretty insidious malefic. It's just insidious. You don't realize it's being malefic until afterwards, and you look back and you're like, whoa, I was really in a fog. For those of us with advanced life skills, Neptune can act as a benefic. It's a very, very spiritual influence, very pacific, very pacifying, very forgiving influence. And for people who can surrender to source, spirit, higher power, whatever your relationship to the much bigger picture is, Neptune can act really positively. It can bring insight. And again, that's the action of this eclipse. Another relationship that we see here with the new moon is that we're trying to Saturn in Capricorn. Very powerful. Saturn in Capricorn, like Neptune in Pisces, also in domicile, in its own stars. Extraordinarily powerful. in its own stars. There's a alignment of this energy. So Saturn, Capricorn energy, it's about structure, about integrating into society, about sort of can be about conformity, integrating into society. Even if we're like wild and weird, we have to make our skills valuable. We have to make them relevant to the whole. Saturn helps us do this. Saturn is discipline, patience, perseverance. Saturn is, again, taking responsibility. A Saturn trine to Taurus is very earthy, very grounded, and this will help us actualize our insights, our vision, anything we might receive in the spiritual realm and the hunch, intuition realm in a non-logical way. This will help us ground and stabilize in the real world, in the actual physical world. It's very patient, very steady, very level-headed influence. So to have it trine, a trine is always harmonious support. These two forces are harmoniously supporting each other. And this is primarily concerned with stabilizing material resources. This is something Taurus and Capricorn share. They want to stabilize material resources. So it's nice. It's nicely supported during this cycle. It's very well placed. Very well placed. The third aspect that the moon and sun together are making, this aspect of relationship to Eris in Pisces. Eris is just a force of nature that we discovered in 2006, a little bit of a newer body. It's about the size of Pluto, and I'll leave a link at the end of this video in the suggested videos to my study of Eris and my breakdown of the astrology of Eris. I read Eris in every chart. It's absolutely relevant. I won't go into precisely what it means, what it might mean. In short, it's chaos, strife, deep shadow work, channeling difficult energies constructively into work ethic, discord, Eris, the famous Discordian cry, "Hail Eris," Eris, the goddess of discord. So we have a sextile to Eris. Now, a sextile is an option. It's an open door. We can walk through it or we can walk past it. It's a switch. We can turn it on, turn it off. The switch is available. It's within arm's reach. If we want light, we can flip it. You get it. As it relates to our self-appreciation and core values in Taurus, what this is asking for is how are we reclaiming any lost or numbed part of ourselves, bodily, Taurus. How are we reclaiming lost or numbed part of ourselves? And this relates to doing shadow work. Are we doing the deep work of self-reclamation by bridging the spirit, Pisces, and the body, Taurus? There's an option to do this. I always suggest taking these options, but it is something that is asking for our sense of personal freedom, autonomy, sovereignty to engage. So, and Eris is actually T-squared to a Pluto-Mars opposition. So any of this shadow work that we might be doing this month, any of this shadow work may especially relate to themes of force used against us, force used by us. Again, to the Neptune and Pisces thing about forgiveness, to the Neptune and Pisces about how we've been victimized. Pluto-Mars in opposition, T-squared by Eris, talking about chaos of using force inappropriately, using force in abusive ways, manipulative ways, getting what we want by force. And whenever we deal with the territory of Eris and Pluto, we're dealing with the deep mind, very deep aspects of the psyche beyond the boundaries of just this lifetime. So we all have these karmic energies, traces, seeds in our being from prior life experience. I mean, unless you're like some kind of resolved ascended master, and in which case, you know, thank you for watching my videos, but, you know, leave this please to the rest of us lowly earthbound folk who, yeah, we have karmas, we have forces that arise in our life from beyond the boundaries of this lifetime to resolve. This is a great time. This is a great time because of Neptune's strength and relationship to Sun and Moon, because of the Saros cycle, that we can have insights into kind of visionary help, and because of the relationship to Pisces here, that Eris is in Pisces, we can get into this territory a little easier. And it doesn't mean we're going to access the Akashic record and see our past lives, but it means we can get deep into our bodies, Taurus, deep into the parts of us that we can't even understand, but which just are uncomfortable, that create problems, that cause difficulties. And we can understand them in terms of karmic experience, karmic burden, and we can work to resolve those, to let those go. We can do that through service. We can do that through suffering. We can burn karma through suffering. That's kind of the crappy way to do it. We can do it through service to others or to ourselves. Genuine service to the spirit within our actual self. Or we can do it by burning these in the fires of yoga, raising the energies of the body. This is the Kundalini, and this is where we get into the territory of Scorpio Fucus. You know, I don't want to say a lot about that right now. It's a whole different rabbit hole, whole different topic. But this is how we can actualize the potential. This is how we can maximize the potential that a sextile to Eris in Pisces, again, within the context of everything else that we're seeing here, the sort of spiritual trip to forgive, to step out of the role, victim, step away from guilt. We can recognize all this in the signature of Eris sextile to new moon. So those are the aspects that Sun and Moon are making. We also see conjunction to Mercury, which is going to just increase the Taurian energy, increase the body sense of like grounded, the self sense. We might be thinking about these things. We might be talking about these things. Mercury with Sun, Moon, it just adds to the power of the energy of everything that I just discussed by bringing our thinking process and our communication process into that same frame. So, yeah, we have this really big eclipse, North Node on Aldebaran, around manifesting values, security, bringing our vision to manifest in reality, in the real world, connected with Neptune, Saturn, and Eris, and that's the main event. That's the main event. We do have a Venus trine to Jupiter, which I'll mention because it's extraordinarily auspicious to have a Venus trine to Jupiter. These are the two major benefics in the sky. We have a Venus sextile to Uranus, also very auspicious. Very auspicious, and Venus is ruling the new moon. Venus is ruling Taurus, and so is the dispositor of the new moon. So we have blessing energy here, but it's going to come through. The blessing will come through staying with the integrity, the dignified sense of honor, that's our sense of sovereignty that we hold with responsibility, that Aldebaran demands of us if we're to achieve the potential success, if we're to achieve the greatness, the happiness. And we have these blessings available to us, but there's a certain demand. with the square to Neptune, and a certain request or option with the sextile to Eris to work, to do some spiritual work on this. And that's the main event. That's the new moon. That's the seed of the whole cycle. So we'll look at the other points of the cycle, the stress points, the waxing quarter, the full moon. We'll look at the other moons. But there's, like I said, there's a sideshow this month, and it's huge. Uranus and Saturn make their second contact. Out of 3 contacts, they'll make one, go retrograde, make another, and go direct again for a third contact. The second contact is always where the action happens. So we're going to see that on the 14th of June, 2021. That is right after the new moon. So we have 4 days, and then wham. And by wham, I mean this has been a really interesting Saturn-Uranus cycle. I did go over this information a couple videos back. I want to do it again. I'm going to leave the chapters of this video in the timestamp. If you feel like you've got this, feel free to skip ahead to the waxing quarter moon. This is pretty interesting stuff though, so stick with me. I'll try and really blast through it. Just jam on some coffee here, and we'll go full steam ahead on this one. So we have Uranus in Aries and Saturn in its own stars, the home star runner in Capricorn. They're square each other. We can see they go exact at this time. We can also see the moon going exact, and that makes this a pretty interesting configuration. We have 3 contacts all at 0, 0, 0 degrees, 0 minutes, relating to each other. Big power, big power. Let's talk about where Saturn and Uranus have been and what this might mean to bring the moon into it. So with Saturn, we have the structure, the order, the fixtures of life. Remember, this is collective. This is for everyone. With Uranus, we have the process of evolution, change, becoming, unfolding, the development of things, the sort of progress, change for the sake of progress. It's very rebellious, very futuristic, very much a catalyst. Uranus is the catalyst for things to move to their next sort of stage, the next step evolutionarily. Saturn is conservative, Uranus is futuristic and revolutionary, and together they manifest as a kind of reformation, a renovation, a modernization. When they get together, those are the buzzwords. We have modernization, renovation, reformation. So when we're looking at a point in a cycle, we see that the slower moving planet here is Uranus and the faster moving planet is Saturn. So we're dealing with a planetary cycle where there was an origin. They came together in 1988, and then Saturn moved quickly relative to Uranus. And, you know, so this cycle, just like a sun-moon cycle, will have stress points, action points, a waxing square, a fullness, a waning square. And this is the waning square. So this is the integration point. This is the sort of integration point of the Saturn-Uranus cycle, which began in 1988, right here, just past the galactic center. Very powerful, very much the beginning of a new, in this case, the beginning of a new era, the technological era, the online era. Let's look at 1988, getting in the Wayback Machine. It was a crucial year in the early history of the internet. What happened? The year of the first well-known computer virus, the internet worm. So that's just what they called it. They didn't have all these fancy names like Yeah. It's just the internet worm. The first permanent intercontinental fiber optic internet link was made between the US and Europe. And the first internet-based chat protocol, Internet Relay Chat, or IRC for the kids, the concept was laid down in the concept of the World Wide Web was first discussed at CERN in 1988. This is the birth of the internet. Full stop. Big year. Big year. And that was here. That was when Saturn and Uranus conjoined just past galactic center in early Sagittarius in 1988. So that was the seed of that cycle, the seed of the cycle that we're seeing the waning square now. The waxing square in 99-2000, and when I say 99-2000, it's because the waxing square had three contacts. So it spanned some time. Just like this Saturn-Uranus square is in effect for the entire year of 2021. That is waxing then in 1999, 2000, and at that time we had Saturn in Aries, and Uranus in Capricorn. Right, so we started here. Uranus is the slower moving one. Saturn had already moved to Aries. So we had a waxing square, Aries, Capricorn, waxing square. Capricorn, Aries, waning square. Interesting. What happened in 1999-2000 relative to the energies of Saturn and Uranus? Well, Y2K was the main event of 99-2000. Everyone thought the world was going to end. The computers were going to shut down. The network was going to crash. There was incredible hype around futurism moving into the year 2000. We wanted our hoverboard already. Everybody was really looking ahead, powerfully looking ahead, and at the same time gripped by fear that the network would fail. ExxonMobil merged exact to the second contact. That was the largest corporate merger ever at that time. At that time, it was the largest corporate merger ever. A major event relative to Saturn and the structure of worldly power. And then if we move ahead to the Uranus-Saturn opposition, Uranus had moved into Pisces and Saturn had moved into Virgo. And this went exact late 2009 through late 2010. And exact to the three contacts, exact to the dates of the three contacts, give or take a week or two. What we saw, first contact, the idea for Bitcoin was published. Blockchain-based cryptocurrency, published. First contact, fullness of the cycle. Second contact, fullness of the cycle, Windows 7, published. That was the operating system that allowed Microsoft to achieve market saturation, or shall we say dominance, at a percentage of, I want to say, like, it's held steady even, I mean, Macintosh, Apple, all that, great stuff. But Windows has held something between 70 and 80% market dominance for probably since then. It was really Windows 7 that was like, oh, geez, we can use this. It works. Don't get me started on corporate operating systems. Windows 7, the big one. A lot of Windows users wish they can go back to Windows 7. It was workable. Third contact, Instagram, published. So this is the fullness of the cycle, right? We have the invention of the internet at the newness of the cycle, the seed, and then at the fullness, the sprouting, the blossom, the harvest. What do we have? Bitcoin, Windows 7, social media, Instagram, what would become just synonymous with social media. again, these events exact to the timing of the contacts, the exact contacts. So now we have Uranus and Saturn making their waning square for the first contact. You know, I actually haven't gone back. I just a little bit of negligence. Haven't gone back to the first contact and looked at, you know, what was happening with the internet, what was happening with Saturn Uranus phenomenon. I think the Mars rover landed, and I think there was a massive power grid outage in Texas where a cold front, cold Saturn, came through and disrupted the electric grid, electricity, Uranus. Very interesting, very interesting. But these weren't events on the order of magnitude that the other events were. I want to thank River Culver for pointing out the Saturn-Uranus relationship to that Texas power outage. It's really neat how it all works out. I appreciate that. Interestingly, the cycle ends. So we're going to fast forward. It ends here at the end of Taurus in the year 2032. Jupiter and Uranus will actually come together again for another new cycle. So this is we're starting to enter into a phase of let's get ready for Saturn, worldly power, and Uranus, revolution, futurism, technology, to come together in Taurus, ruling finance. I mean, I think the fullness of the last cycle being exhibited as Bitcoin is like a little bit of a clue. I'm really convinced that blockchain-based cryptocurrency is going to be the next wave that is likely to be global. This initiated in Sagittarius, much like the pandemic. This is going to affect the world, and I really do feel that you know, crypto is real. It's not. A lot of people poo-pooed it. A lot of people laughed at it. That always happens when new things emerge. But let's move on. When we're looking at this waning square, we have you know, all three contacts happen in 2021. This Uranus, Saturn. The second contact goes exact June 14th. And what we have is the moon closely involved from the Cancer-Leo cusp. I circled Mars here as well, but we're talking about the moon. So this is gonna get personal. And it becomes empowered. It affects the moon, and the moon is our inner consciousness. The moon is our conscious mind. The moon is ego consciousness. The moon is all those things. So this affects the moon but this is gonna get real personal. And the moon as a luminary affects it. The moon empowers this. It's going to give it oomph. It's going to give it strength. This will affect consciousness, moon. This will affect consciousness. And with the sun on fixed star El Noth, the horns of the bull, and Venus, the dispositor of sun, ruling sun, on Sirius. Now Sirius is a fixed star associated with greatness, just big things. I mean, power. And sun on El Noth, very empowered, as the moon is reflecting that sunlight from Cancer in absolute perfect relationship to this. We have a recipe for a major I want to say a major breakthrough. Looking at the flavor of the whole cycle, it's probably going to be technological. And I have just a sort of hunch, like an intuitive hunch, that this could be around artificial intelligence or machine intelligence when we combine the Saturn Uranus cycle and what it has exhibited with the moon consciousness, ego consciousness. You know, and we look at, well, how is the world today really expressing kind of the merger of technology, the merger of internet connectivity and consciousness. You know, we have machine intelligence, machine learning, artificial intelligence. And I mean, there's so many examples in the world today of artificial intelligence that it's not, I mean, like, welcome to the future. We're here. We get manufacturing robots, self-driving cars, smart assistants, proactive healthcare management, disease mapping, automated financial investing, virtual travel booking, social media monitoring. All of this is governed by machine learning and artificial intelligence. And it wouldn't take much from where we are right now. It won't take much on 14th of June 2021 to kind of reach a tipping point. It's not a far leap to a sort of inflection point in the development of artificial intelligence. And that's just a really interesting prospect, because right now we think of the internet as a tool. We think of the internet as a learning tool, a library, a method of connecting and access to information. I mean, you know, we don't think of it as an entity. We don't really use the phrase the sentient network. You know, the internet, we watch the internet. We don't think of the internet as watching us, as a consciousness. It's actually a little bit terrifying in terms of the science fiction floating around on the topic. It's pretty, some of it is pretty dystopian, pretty apocalyptic. Other sci-fi is very utopian, and I think that there is the incredible potential of a network, of a core artificial intelligence that would literally inhabit and you know, to great extent pervade the network. I don't want to wax on it too much, because I'm not really sure that that's what's going to happen. I'm not, you know, 100 convinced. I actually don't make predictions. It's a terrible habit to get into as an astrologer. I like to talk about patterns. I like to talk about probabilities. I like to talk about potential and energies, the way, you know, what's strong, what's weak. What I see here is technological development moving into a next order of complexity, a next order of development relative to consciousness. So I draw that line. I get really interested then in artificial intelligence and machine intelligence and so on. You know, we'll see. We might look back. We might look back in the future and realize that you know, while that might seem logical, I may have been wrong. We might realize in the future that that is correct. It doesn't really matter. Right now, you know, what's interesting, I think we can see technological innovation, Saturn Uranus, relative to consciousness and our felt and personal experience of life, Moon. I think that's what we'll see. I think we'll see it powerfully with that exact alignment. I think June 4th and this cycle is likely to exhibit that strongly. And now I'd like to move on to the waxing quarter. The rest of this should be more or less pretty short and straightforward. I always spend a nice amount of time on the new moon because that's just the energy of the whole cycle. It's the energy of the seed. It's what's going to manifest. The full moon, very powerful in its indication of what might manifest relative to new moon. But the first quarter moon is a cycle of emergence. It's due to the sun-moon square. It's a stress point on the cycle, so energies are high. Things can happen here. The indications are given here. And the sun's finishing up Taurus, and it trines Jupiter on fixed star Fomalhaut. So we have another royal star, Fomalhaut. We have another royal star in the mix. South node on Antares, north node on Aldebaran. Now Jupiter on Fomalhaut for waxing quarter moon is trine to the sun, moon reflecting that light, as it makes a further relationship to Saturn and to Uranus, making two sesquiquadrats opposite to Neptune. So this could be it just indicates a powerful cycle around all the concepts that we've talked about so far. At this time, moon is also trying to Pluto, which deepens. It empowers, it intensifies, it gets focused, very focused with moon, Pluto trine. So anything relating to the expression of that Uranus-Saturn square, and anything relating to the emergence of the energies of this cycle, this eclipse cycle, is going to be intense and can be marked. Intensity is Pluto, and it could be marked by controversy or even scandal. That is an opposition to Neptune. We have controversy, scandal. It's likely to be of the nature of blessings or contain the kernel of blessings relative to the collective within it, because Jupiter is on a very powerful star trining the sun. So we may have the conscious experience of kind of discord with the whole Saturn Uranus, the whole revolutionary reformation, reforming of the world. But there really are energies of blessing here, whether it seems like it or not. And this is likely to continue and support the new moon theme of grounding things in the real world. Sun in Taurus, grounded Taurus. We have moon in earthy, precise Virgo. And this is going to lend itself to stabilizing our vision, our insights, our hunches, bringing them, again, like that Saturn relationship with the new moon, bringing things into a real world manifestation, grounding them, stabilizing them. Venus, the ruler of the sun, sits on Alpha Gemini, fixed star Castor. And so the new moon dispositor, right, Venus, we take this back to the new moon here in Taurus, and Venus was ruling. So Venus is the dispositor of the cycle, still ruling the sun, and it's sitting on an alpha star, sitting on Alpha Gemini. And so we follow this theme, and we saw this theme last month of the new moon dispositor just lining up on powerful fixed stars. It's going to give energy to the cycle. It's going to create intensity. So it's going to increase the power of the situation, like we saw last month. Let's look at the full moon. This is a cool full moon. Let's see. So the sun's in Gemini and moon is in Sagittarius. Mercury's gone direct. Mercury's just gone direct a couple of days before, and we have some pretty interesting alignments. First thing I want to look at is the Gemini-Sagittarius axis. This is about information and truth. It's about bringing what we know, our internal map of the world, data, ideas, our internal framework, mentally, through which we relate to the world, our semantic framework, how we correlate language to the world, and our communication in general. All of these are Gemini themes. It's about bringing them into alignment, opposition, with natural law, Sagittarius. Natural law. In a depth way, in a sort of metaphysical, spiritual, kind of deep way, into alignment with what is really true. Not laws that people made up, not facts that people invented, not facts that people recognized, but how things actually are. So Gemini, world of ideas, our whole anything can exist, the imagination, language, very limitless. Sag, very concerned with what's true. What's true out of all that? And this is the alignment. This is the main energy. It's emphasized, it's very well supported by a trine from Sun and sextile from Moon to Jupiter. And Jupiter is in Aquarius. Jupiter's also retrograde at this time. And retrograde Jupiter in Aquarius could lend itself to really new ways and unconventional ways of looking at things. So we could develop in unexpected ways of feeling aligned with the world. It's a great time to try on something new. Try on something new in accordance with, now remember, the new moon, the eclipse, the Aldebaran connection, asking for integrity, asking for honor, asking for this whole Sagittarian thing. Natural law, what's really real. We have to align with that. That's the basis of integrity. We might be exposed to new information. We could be interested in different ways of looking at things. We could maybe feel a need to clarify our philosophy, our existing framework, be it linguistic, semantic, be it philosophical, or oriented to ideas. The way we communicate, or all of the above. We might be feeling like experimenting, maybe doing some new things, and this is really blessed. This is with Jupiter in Aquarius relative to this Gemini-Sag axis. That kind of activity is really blessed to try new things. Just try new things ethically. Don't try things that would compromise your sense of integrity. That's the Aldebaran challenge. So relative to the new moon, this is about the development of our values, our core sense of worth. And I hope, for your sake, that core sense of worth isn't financial. But this is also about financial security. So all this talk about philosophy and initiating new ways of looking at things, looking at ourselves, of doing things, of relating to others, all of that is in the context of that original brand or stamp of Taurus and the new moon eclipse, Aldebaran. All of this is about those themes of self-love, self-appreciation, self-reliance, resourcefulness, sustainability, values, what has value, and our valuables. All this is relative to that and falling under the kind of umbrella of Aldebaran's need for integrity. So yeah, trying new things, trying new ways of being, communicating, thinking, doing, to bring ourselves into alignment with natural law in the interest of integrity, because Aldebaran kind of dangles the prize if we can live up to its demands, if we can overcome the nemesis of lack of integrity. And integrity, a way of thinking about integrity, is when your kind of body, your actions in the real world, your spirit, your intentions, your speech, your words, and your thoughts, even your thoughts, are aligned when they're all aligned, when they're on the same page, that's integrity. So if you're like saying one thing and doing another, no integrity. But this goes a little bit deeper than just not being two-faced. This goes to is our thinking and our thoughts the same? Even the things that we think are hidden from others aren't hidden from the cosmic ocean. You can't hide from Aldebaran. You'll get sorted if you think you can, get one over on, reality in that way. It's just not how this works. So that's the energy of this cycle relative to the full moon and the new moon, looking at the seed and the fruit of the cycle. So let's move on. Let's move on to the waning quarter. It'll be July. It'll be July, and we'll be looking at the moon in Pisces. Well placed, Neptune here ruling. I see the sun in Gemini. Now the sun is on Elena, fixed star Elena, and that's nice because Elena is where Mars sat for the Aries new moon. It's where Venus sat for the Taurus new moon. And now there's a sort of like return, kind of again, like an internal logic, like a consistency here to the cycle. And, in the waning quarter phase, we're internalizing, we're incorporating, we're looking back on the whole thing, and we're kind of like building it in. We're getting ready to let go and make room for the next cycle. So, we see the sun in Gemini and moon in Pisces, and these are mutable stars. And mutable stars having to do with change, with entropy and involution. Involution, making way for new cycles of growth. And so that's relative to the kind of fixed earth of Taurus. Taurus is fixed earth, stabilizes grounds. Now here we're getting ready to kind of wind things down. Getting ready to wrap up the strings, the loose ends, to internalize. And all of this entropy and involution is going to be for the purpose of bringing about new stability, new North Node stability, Taurus. But, as this settles in and we can take the point of view of rest and evaluation that the waning phase is going to naturally correlate with, we have the moon trine to Venus and Mars in Cancer, and that's going to give a really interesting signature. They're opposite Saturn in Capricorn, and this is really about taking responsibility for ourselves. And when you bring Venus and Mars into it, you have that in relationship, but it's not about taking responsibility for relationship partner. It's about taking responsibility for ourselves in relationship. So that's a big theme here. It's going to be a theme that might be emphasized at this time. We may see, taking responsibility for ourselves in relationship to others, in romantic relationship, absolutely, but in any relationship, one-on-one, any relationship with another. The square to Uranus that Venus and Mars make, and also Saturn makes here, is gonna give increased ability to find new ways to take care of ourselves. So a lot of the pattern of this lunar cycle is about finding new ways to do things, finding new ways. With Jupiter retrograde in Aquarius, there's a great blessing in finding new ways to do things. And here we have the opportunity to find new ways, Uranus, to take responsibility, Saturn in Capricorn is what it does best, for our own emotional security, our own feelings, our own experience, Cancer, relative to Again, relative to the self-appreciation, self-love that pervades the cycle, relative to relationship with others, Venus, relative to romantic, sexual relationship, Venus, Mars. So all of the above, all these cylinders are firing at this time. It's a great time to just evaluate, have conversations with people, look at where the sort of authority issues, where the sort of, and that's Saturn opposite to Venus and Mars in Cancer. Authority issues, where responsibility issues might lie. And, you know, the moon is with Chiron, so we're going to have the energies empowered to make inner healing progress. Trine to Mars and Venus, Moon and Chiron. So, you know, have those conversations with Sun in Gemini. This is great. With Moon in Pisces, this is pacified. With again, not just romantic or relationship or a sexual partner, but really with anyone who you feel there may be room to improve the relationship in the context of power dynamics, authority dynamics. This could be a boss, this could be a parent, this could be a child, this could be a friend, this certainly could be a lover or relationship partner. This could be a client, really. It could be, you know, if there's a therapist-client relationship, a teacher-student relationship. This is an amazing time to just gently, Pisces, communicate, Gemini, Moon, Sun, about these issues. Authority, responsibility, taking responsibility. If someone's taking too much responsibility or taking responsibility for another, and that other is, it's time for them to take responsibility for themselves, or that we recognize that it's time for us to take responsibility for ourselves. This is the time. This is the time to open that door. Amazing, amazing alignment here for that. It could be a really dreamy time because we see Neptune in Pisces. And so Neptune is ruling Moon. Moon is ruling Venus and Mars, which, let's see, where do those go? Mercury and Uranus are ruled by Venus and Mars. Mercury rules Gemini, Uranus rules Jupiter, Jupiter rules Sag, Pluto. So what we see is that the disposition, the chain, the dispositor chain of rulership goes up to Neptune. Neptune is ruling everything from its home stars of Pisces, except Saturn. Saturn is in its home stars of Capricorn. It is not ruled by Neptune. Everything else is ruled by Neptune. So this could be a really dreamy time. And if you remember the new moon, we had relationships to Neptune, a square, and Saturn, a trine. And that really brought to the fore of this cycle the themes of having insight, the vision of the Saros cycle, and grounding that in action in the real world. Saturn taking that responsibility to bring that in. So again, Sun's on Elena, nice internal consistency. Neptune and Saturn ruling the entire sky, bringing that kind of balance, the balance of the dream world and the real world, and really generating a sort of thematic consistency, exhibiting very nice internal logic. And I want to move on to close this out. I want to take a little look at the next new moon. We have a Gemini new moon, and what's happening? We're trine to Neptune in Pisces, and we're opposite to Pluto in Sag. And that's going to bring a great degree of depth to Gemini, which has a shallow streak, no judgment, but just the nature of Gemini. It's not known for the depth that Sagittarius and Pisces are known for. We have Mercury, the ruler of Gemini, here in late Taurus, trine to Jupiter. And Venus and Mars are very close. They will conjoin this cycle in Leo. They'll conjoin trine to Chiron, and all of this is it seems rather good, even though we can see a T-square here. We see Sun and Moon happening opposite to Pluto. We'll look at all of this, the energies of all of this a little closer. But from the time of the waning quarter moon, as we wind down, getting ready for the next new moon, as we make room, we make way, there can be some anxiety. We don't know what it is. What are we making way for? Sure, we can clear space. We can see what worked, what didn't, discard what didn't, keep what worked. Just kind of go through this cycle, lunar cycle process of like, okay. So I like to give this look at the next new moon. This will be 9th of July, and we'll have a Gemini moon relative to Neptune, relative to Pluto. Great depth. We'll have, in Pisces and Sag, we'll have sort of metaphysical, spiritual, religious depth. This will be given to Gemini. Gemini is usually about thoughts and words, and is a little flighty, a little scattered, a little very curious, very inventive, very curious, but not really deep, left to its own devices. So, my friends, I hope that you can just take it easy. Take it easy, because eclipse cycles just stir things up, and it's just my wish that everybody be able to remember to relax into the body, Taurus, to keep your integrity. Really, there's the theme of a test here, the theme of a nemesis to overcome. There's a present player on the field. It's the nemesis of lack of integrity. We could be presented this cycle with circumstances that challenge our integrity, challenge our kind of self-respect. We might have to make choices. Victory is obtained in this instance by keeping our integrity. But eclipses just make things strong. They make them intense. They shake things up. They stir things up. They just however you like your cosmic martini. Eclipses make it strong. So we just need to relax. We need to remember and understand that a considerable amount of these energies are expressing astrologically in terms of obstacles to navigate. There's blessing here, great blessing, profound opportunity this cycle, but there will be obstacles, and then we're going through this collectively. So we can help ourselves by remembering that. We can help others. We can hold others up by just remembering this is a cycle of navigating what may be certain challenges, to keep our integrity, to keep our alignment, thoughts, speech, intentions, actions, mind, body, and spirit. Just do whatever you can to bring those into align and keep them in alignment. So as always, my friends, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for leaving a thumbs up, like the video. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I don't do this to get YouTube famous, but you know, check it out. I do this every month. Sometimes I do other stuff, little pop-up stuff. Yeah, get a sweet little weather forecast for the cosmic skies, for the cosmic weather. I want to invite everybody to join the Sidereal Revolution group on Facebook. That's Sidereal Revolution. It's where other practitioners of true sidereal astrology kind of get together, hobnob, hang out. It's a great community. It's a really supportive and very insightful community. And as always, just be safe out there. Bless you all, and I'll see you next month. Thanks for watching.